So you want to know how to get more flexible. Well, in today's show, we're going to teach you one of the 7 key breakthroughs that we've experienced in the last 20 years of our training that have delivered the biggest results. This one is a cracker. We're going to take you out on the gym floor, demonstrate a few ways that you can, what do you call it? Take action, execute was the word I was looking for. All that and more coming up right after this. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image. And we're back, and I'm super excited because I have got a special guest presenter here on the show today. This is my son, Elijah. To my right is Rad, my brother and business partner, and if we haven't met before, I'm Yanni Bormeister. We are the founders of the Foundation Movement System and Unity Gym, where we teach you how to move and nourish instead of diet and exercise. Today's a big one, and it's a show that you probably are an expert in. So let's talk about how this has applied to your training, Rad, mostly.
Well, we're talking about flexibility today, and I've got a little bit of a hoarse voice, so you have to excuse me. And we're talking about one of the 7 key breakthroughs that we have that is a part of our flexibility blueprint, which is to stretch first and then strengthen opposing muscle groups. And that's been massive because that creates end range strength, which is your ability to control your joints, your movement at the end of your range of motion.
I might get you to come.
Which is really what it's really what this whole thing's about. You know, when you're doing flexibility in training, you're trying to increase your ability to control your body's movement. Otherwise, you're just really stretching for the sake of being flexible, so you do the splits so that you can do the splits, you know, which is in my perspective useless. You want to be able to do things. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go out onto the gym floor and we're going to show you an example of how you can use this with the hamstrings and compression strength, one of the most commonly sought after levels of mobility, and in gymnastics it's considered the #1 thing to develop. So.
Now, one of the things that we should say first, because there will be people wondering, I'm sure, anyone with a traditional strength and conditioning background, is there, there's confusion behind the concept of stretching first and then performing strength exercises. And that's certainly not something that we suggest people do, you know, because you can compromise strength. But what we're talking about here is different. This is specifically for the development of flexibility. And it's something that is definitely very, very, very good for you. But just to clarify...
Well, we're stretching one muscle group and then we're strengthening the opposing muscle group specifically. Yeah. So in this case, we're stretching the hamstrings and strengthening the hip flexors. But if we were to stretch the hamstrings and stretch the hip flexors, then it would be counterproductive and you wouldn't get the same gains.
But there are also, when, you know, I think it comes down to very much people's goals and needs. There is a lot of research to suggest that if you stretch a muscle and then ask it to demonstrate high levels of strength, it's not good. You're compromising the tissue, and you're also asking the central nervous system for 2 very different outcomes in the same workout. But there are times when it is beneficial, and that is when you are not lifting heavy weights and you are really unflexible, and then stretching a little bit first and then doing some very moderate intensity strength work is quite good for you.
Absolutely,
you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So it really comes down to where your skill level's at and how heavy you plan to lift in that workout. What's your goal? Is your goal to improve mobility and flexibility, or is your goal to improve maximum strength? And if it's to improve maximum strength, then definitely don't stretch right before you work out. You can certainly do mobility drills. We have great warm-ups and programs that you can grab for that. But if your goal is to improve flexibility and mobility, then yeah, different story.
Yep.
Anyway,
yeah, absolutely.
Should we get out on the gym floor and
let's do it. Yeah,
have a look? I think I'm going to be the dummy today, and Rad's
you are
going to
the
be
dummy today.
Yeah, that's right. Always, he's wanted me to say that for a long time.
All right, so what we're going to do is Yanni's first just going to warm up his hamstrings and then do a couple of hamstring stretches. So just do some ostrich walk. So when we do, you'll notice us doing the ostrich walk a lot. The ostrich walk is a really good way to warm up the hamstring because it helps to get the heart rate up, and it also creates a dynamic stretch for the hamstring, which is much more realistic for movement practice rather than this idea of going like this to warm up. This doesn't, movement isn't like that. Movement isn't a prolonged hold on a stretch. Movement is your joints being stretched out and then, you know, coming back, flexing and extending. So that's why the ostrich walk's really good. Another really good thing about this is that it's unilateral, so we do one leg at a time. And what Yanni's doing here is trying to keep both legs straight, trying to get the weight on the front leg, and trying to just come up and down. So I'll even do a tiny bit myself. This is like medicine for us. When I get up in the morning, I haven't done any training as of yet. I've just been working and teaching classes, so this is my first movement, and this is like, it's like medicine, just wakes you up. So the next thing Yanni's going to do is a seated pike. So this is a stretch, and he's just going to sit down, reach forward and grab for his toes. Now what he's doing here is, the goal is to grab onto your feet and pull them back as hard as you can so that you get a stretch in the hamstrings, the back of the knee and the calf. Sorry, I pointed at the wrong spot. The calf, back of the knee and the hamstring. The back of the knee is the calf and the hamstring. Those are the two muscle groups that cross the back of the knee. But this also does the entire posterior chain. You're also going to get a stretch in your glutes and your lower back. It's really good. And what we do here is we normally do, I mean, honestly, this is just an example of what you do. But after you've warmed up, which you do more than that, you would have, if you wanted to do this properly, you would have elevated your heart rate significantly by doing 1 to 2 minutes of high intensity cardio. And then you would have done the ostrich walk. And then now you can do some static stretching. So Yanni would do, say, 3 sets of this and get his hamstrings really, really warm, so they're as warm as he can, and then he would move into what's called moils. So this is, moils, it means maximum overcoming isometric load. So it's a little bit of a mouthful. And what you do is, so let's say we've just created a new range of motion in the hamstring. So we've stretched. You know, when he started the workout, he could only just touch his toes. After 3 sets now, he can really pull his chest down towards the knee. So we've increased the range of motion, or at least learn to activate his full range of motion, which he's not there yet. He would need to do at least a little bit more warm up and a few more sets to get that. So what Yanni's doing now, no matter how much anyone would like to think, it's nowhere near his full range of motion. So point your toes, Yanni. And what we're going to do now is we put an immovable object on top of the feet, okay? The hands are going to go down next to the knees. So the idea is that you go as far forward as you can go and still create strength. And from here, what he's going to do is tense the quads, tense the abs, and try and lift 1 foot for 5 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then he relaxes. And then he does the other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he relaxes. Then he does the other leg, second rep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, relax. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we go for the third and final rep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's full tension in the quads and the hip flexors, full tension in the abs. Last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we remove the immovable object, so we get rid of it. Now he does 5 ballistic reps as fast and hard as he can, lifting up.
Both together?
Both together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now a 1 rep where he lifts as high as he can and holds for 3 seconds. So up, 1, 2, 3. Awesome. And that's what we call moils, maximum overcoming isometric load. You can do moils for so many different muscle groups, so many different joints. We use them on our shoulders, hips are the main ones. And that is an awesome way to increase your end range strength. So by doing 3 sets of that after you have stretched out the hamstrings and created the maximum range of motion that you can, what that's going to do is to increase your ability to be able to create compression. And compression is your ability to suck yourself forward without actually being pulled or pushed, okay? So if you come up to your feet, Yanni, so when you do a press to handstand, it requires compression strength. So even if you don't do a press, Yanni, so a press to handstand from here, what you need to be able to do is get your hands close to your feet and come up on your toes, tense the quads and suck your feet in. I'm not going to demonstrate it today because I've got a slap tear in my shoulder that I've only just been diagnosed with. But if Yanni comes up, okay, and from here, and that's the point where you lift, see right there, all I'm doing is balancing him to help him come up because he hasn't done any warm-up yet, and handstands aren't that easy to do when you haven't warmed your arms up. But you can see what he's doing here is, if you go again, by going on his hands, he's pushing through the hands, sucking his feet in towards his hips, and then coming up off the ground like that. And that's what we call compression strength. Yanni, actually, these pants are not as flexible as we thought they are either, and you can't actually open your legs into the splits in them, which really sucks. So that's an example of stretching and strengthening opposing muscle groups. And this is something that we go into great detail in our online training. And if you haven't got it yet, there's about 5 or 6 hours left to get our amazing flash sale, which includes our most popular stretching program, the 18-minute stretching routine, our loaded mobility routine, which is loaded mobility versus passive stretching. It also includes 6 weeks and phase 1 of our FMS online coaching. That's our most popular program, where you do strength training, stretching, skill training, everything. Also includes a bunch of extras like our ultimate isometric strength formula, the optimal program periodization model, our intermittent fasting nutrition program. It's $544 and you get it for the next 5 hours. You're going to get it for $49. So if you haven't grabbed that, and it will end in 5 hours from the moment that we're filming this now, which is 10 past 9 in Australia. If you miss that, we do not extend our flash sales. It's completely unfair for the people that did jump on and grab it. So don't miss out. And let's go back into the studio so Yanni can talk. So we'll just come back in here. But yeah, so what we did just there, you can do that in so many different joints. You can apply it to so many different things. Like if you, Richie, just keep the gimbal on me. Okay. If you imagine, if I stretched out the hip flexors, okay, and try and get a wide angle of me. So if I stretched out the hip flexors, what I can actually do is I can go like this and strengthen my glutes and my hamstrings, trying to pull my leg up to create an opposing force for stretching out the hip flexors and create some end range strength through my front splits to be able to help me get up into handstands and things like that. So that's just another really quick example.
Yeah. So
you can do it with the splits. You do it
you can do this with every joint. We use end range strength training, Moyles. We use what's another example of end range strength training that we use?
Just contract, relax.
Contract, relax. What's the other one that we do?
I mean, we just do you do holds as well.
Yeah,
just isometric holds.
There's another name for it. I'm trying to think of it. I can't think of it. Sorry, guys.
I mean, there's so many.
But this is a really, really key element to developing mobility. Now, you got to understand.
And it was one of the biggest breakthroughs that we had. Like, it's funny, we've had, I'm just going to jump in quickly. Yeah. We've had a lot of really amazing feedback from the Flexibility Blueprint that we give for free. But we've also had probably, we've now had 56,000 people download the Flexibility Blueprint around the world. And we've had probably about 6 or 7 people complain about it. And what they complained about is that they said, this is rubbish, it's just spam, there's no free training in here or no program or anything. And it isn't a program. What it is the 7 key lessons that we've learned when Yanni and I sat down together and we were thinking about, because with full disclosure, of course, we want to get you on our email list so that we can share stuff with you, and hopefully you're going to join our program one day.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're delusional to that, like, why the hell do you think we work this hard? Of course, we're trying to get you into our program, but we do it by giving you so much free stuff that hopefully one day you think, oh wow, I'm going to get this program.
When you're ready to actually buy a program, that you think of us.
You think of us, exactly.
Yeah.
So what we did, we sat down and we said, what could we give to people for free that would honestly be valuable to them? Something that they would look at and go, oh my God, this is a game changer. And so we sat down and we didn't say, let's come up with 7 key things. We just brainstormed, what are the things that we've learned in the last 25 years that made our flexibility go through the roof? And we came up with 7 things, and that's one of them.
Yeah. We actually wanted it to be 5 because we were told to do 5 key points, but there was 7 that were all equally as important.
Really important.
You know? The big message of today, the big take-home message from today's discussion is that flexibility is not just like people compartmentalize flexibility. There's a notion that being flexible in a joint just comes down to the tendons that cross that joint. But you got to understand that there is an operating system working in the background, which is the central nervous system in the brain, which must allow those tendons to either lengthen or shorten. And so one of the key take-homes from what we're going to be delivering over the next 7 days on our show with each of these 7 key principles is that you've got to train the nervous system as well as the tendons. And that's really what I want to talk about today. I've got a big note here. You must teach your central nervous system how to access new ranges of motion, and then reinforce that enough that it becomes comfortable with it. And it's you know, we say in another way, you're breaking down inhibitors that the brain has created for your safety. And that takes a lot of time. And it's usually not a linear pathway. You need to come at it from many different angles. It's much, much more difficult to develop flexibility and mobility than it is to develop strength. Developing strength is black and white in comparison. It's so much easier. So, and there is so many great benefits to being mobile and flexible, you know. So, yeah, look, guys, I'm really looking forward to delivering these next few shows because there's some really, really great content coming out, and it's really sharing what we've been delivering in our flexibility blueprint. But we're going to take you out on the gym floor and actually demonstrate this stuff so that you get an idea of how we do this from a practical standpoint, so that you know how to execute it. So keep an eye out over the next 7 days. Obviously for us it's Friday tomorrow in Sydney, then we'll start up again on Monday next week. So we're going to do the first 2 this week, then we'll finish this series next week, and hopefully you guys will be just completely revolutionized.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys.
But remember, you've only got 5 hours to grab that sale, so I hope you guys get it. For $49, it's $544 value. It's a killer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really, really good deal. Really, really good. Is there anyone?
It's going to be linked in this.
So Blakely has asked question: pails and rails. Was that what you're talking about, or looking for the words? Earlier?
No, Yanni won't be able to answer this one because I know he hasn't done as much research into it as I have. So Blakely, pails and rails, I can never remember what these stand for exactly. One of them is regressive and one of them is progressive. So it's regressive angular isolated loading, or regressive angular isometric loading, and progressive angular isometric loading. No, that's different. But we do use that, Blakely. We do use pails and rails. You obviously know your functional range conditioning, or FRC. But it is something that, I'm actually going to...
I was actually trying to think of FRC.
That's what you're thinking of,
That's what I was trying to think of.
There you go.
Thank you, yeah.
There you go. So Yanni was trying to think of FRC, functional range conditioning. So yes, that is...
But I was just going to use the macro and say FRC.
Functional range conditioning. So absolutely, we do use functional range conditioning, and we use pails and rails, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, Blakely. Blakely's one of our superstar moderators on the Movement Mastermind, and I've seen...
and you now know, Blakely, how to do the hip flexor moils. So all the guys in the FMS online have been asking how to do it because we haven't made a video on it yet. But that'll be coming ASAP, so yeah.
Well, that's what we did today. Yeah, that was the hip flexor moils today, mate.
Yep.
Awesome.
There you go.
Well,
That's it.
tune in tomorrow. We've got another massive breakthrough that we're going to be talking about. We're going to take you out on the gym floor again. Hopefully Rad has his voice back. Very, very quick shout out. We've had, I don't know, about 100 people join our Movement Mastermind tribe overnight with the flash sale. Maybe more, probably 150. Very, very excited to meet you all on the inside. Blakely, who just commented on the show, is going to be one of the guys who will help us get you guys all up to speed. Same with Tom Wood. So introduce yourself to those guys inside, and we'll be in there too. Can't wait to meet you all on the inside in the Movement Mastermind, and I can't wait to see you guys all start crushing it just like the rest of us are. So until tomorrow, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you on the other side. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.